Well, hello and welcome to an episode of Chestnut Checkers. My name is Keith Riddle, as usual, here with my co-host Jordan Tampien, and today we have a very special guest with us. Is it the 48th mayor of Spokane?
I honestly don't know.
I read that somewhere. I was like, I think it's the 48th, but the current mayor of Spokane. Welcome, Mayor Lisa Brown.
Hi, happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes.
Or thanks for, I say that, I said it at the calendar too. Thanks for letting us have
there's
you.
certain guests
Yes.
where we're thankful for you having us.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
we vice versa.
And then
switch
the
it.
other guests were just like, who's this person?
Yeah, they made it on here.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's just start with a little background. So for us and the listeners, how did you become the mayor of Spokane? Give me a little background of Lisa Brown and the journey to mayorhood.
Probably started quite a long time ago. I moved to Spokane in the 1980s.
Okay.
And I came here in 65 Chevy that my dad gave me when I left home, which was in central rural Illinois. And I had just come from Boulder, Colorado, where I was in grad school.
Okay.
Boyfriend in Berkeley, California.
Okay.
So you might be saying, why did you end up in Spokane? He had a summer job in Spokane. So we decided after that we would spend the summer in Spokane, and then we would get serious about finishing our PhDs either in Boulder or Berkeley. But instead, we applied and got a job teaching economics at Eastern. Split the position, which was perfect because then we could half-time
I was
work.
going to say you guys both got the job?
We actually did. We both got the job.
Okay.
They let
I
us
like it.
split it, and then we could teach half-time and work on our dissertations half-time. One thing led to another. Never left Spokane.
Nice.
And got involved in politics in the 90s, ran for state legislature. So I've had a variety of positions since then in the State House and the Senate, Department of Commerce and WSU, Spokane, and ultimately decided when I was at Commerce during the pandemic, being the director of Commerce from my place in Kendall Yards looking out at the city, that I just love the city, and maybe my sort of ultimate chapter of public service should be mayor of the city. So that's what led me here.
Nice. So what were you teaching?
Economics.
Economics. And
Yes.
so that was your background was in economics?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then did you guys ever go after those PhDs? Did you ever?
Indeed, I did. I received my PhD from the University of Colorado.
Okay.
Taught at Eastern for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Including overlapping with time in the legislature. So, the Washington State legislature is a part-time citizens legislature, meets in Olympia from January to March or April or May, depending on if there's special sessions. So I essentially worked half-time teaching first at Eastern and then later at Gonzaga in the leadership program, and then was also in the legislature.
Yeah, that was my first run-in. I interned when I was at Whitworth with Joyce Mulliken out
Yes.
of Moses Lake District.
Yes.
And so got kind of
we served
foray.
together.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Got a little foray into it. I found out my job was less desirable. It was more responding to all the complaints and all the good stuff. But which of those, because I've followed, and then I was at WSU when you were chancellor at WSU.
Oh.
Which one's your favorite? Which one was your favorite, if you could say one?
I have to say, it's really hard. There's kind of tied for two.
Okay.
Being the chair of the kind of the majority leader of the state Senate was an awesome job.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was interesting. It was hard. I like challenges. The title of your podcast here, Chestnut Checkers, I always tell people that politics is a little bit like that. Yeah. You really are playing chess, sometimes in the dark, and it's 3D. So that was a fantastic experience, partly because of the things I got to work on during that period of time. But then closely tied with that is WSU Spokane, because we went through the journey of creating the state's second medical school, and that was just fantastic. And I worked with an amazing, inspiring leader, Elson Floyd, who now the medical school is named after. So that one is always going to be very special too.
Yeah, that was a pretty dynamic change actually in the U district at that point. That was really cool. Yeah. So what kind of keeps you motivated and kind of going? That's a long time. Do you ever get burned out?
Absolutely.
point?
I do get burned out, and I take time. I learned, so when I was in the legislature, I was a single mom of a infant, and actually a big event that occurred my first year in the legislature is that we had a nighttime session. I picked him up at childcare, brought him back to the House floor. Things were dragging on, and we got kicked off the House floor. I mean, this was a long time ago, right?
Right.
And so it became sort of a big issue statewide. Mom and baby kicked off the House floor. And so just to get to the answer to your question, I learned early on, especially with those family responsibilities, that I had to mark off time in my calendar and make it time for family and friends. And like literally, you have to put it in your calendar.
Yeah.
And that way, it makes it much easier when somebody says, can you come here or do this, to say, I'm sorry, I have a previous appointment.
Yeah.
If you don't do it in advance, it won't happen. It's just like anything else, like exercise or any other good, healthy thing you do for yourself. If you don't like plan it and sort of make it a routine that you have to stick to, it doesn't happen. So I take time for myself and for my family and friends.
Yeah.
I'm not as bad as I used to be. I went on like a calendaring. I was calendaring to like the T for a couple years, and it was the same thing. It was advice from mentorship and stuff. But like, so I would put like everything in my calendar, right, just so I could see all of it. But I even like every Wednesday, at like me and my wife have different like personalities, but also different like love languages, you know? So I had like a note in my calendar at like 7 p.m. on Wednesday. It was like, tell Joey you love her. Right? Just in case. Because I can go weeks without, and it doesn't mean I don't love her. I just like, I don't verbalize, like, you know? So it was like, oh, so this is important. So anything that was important to me, it was like, you know, whether it was physical fitness or telling my wife I love it, it was like to the T. It was like, eat lunch, you know?
I still tell people that, especially when I meet with new elected officials. And I do meet with people who are either thinking about running for office. I will almost always take a coffee or a lunch with somebody who's thinking about running for office or somebody who's been elected. Have some friends that I meet with them, and I give them that same advice, because otherwise the demands on your time are there. It's way more than 24/7. So you have to do that.
Yeah, it never seems to stop. Like I think that would be the hardest part of that position is there's always a demand on your time. There's always an expectation on your time, actually, is the harder part.
Interestingly, mayor is tougher in that way than the state legislature, although you might think of local politics as more the minor leagues, and then you move up to the state or the federal level. It's really a little bit the opposite in that local politics is harder, and it's much more in everybody's face, right? Like you are right there. And when you're at the state level, you're going to Olympia for a few months a year, and you're not as much visible to people. Yeah. But at the local level, you're very visible. But also, everything that's happening in your city, people are happy to have you come and be part of it. Yeah. So, for example, this Saturday, there's a church that's giving away turkeys for Thanksgiving, and I'm going to go there. And there's it's Trans Day of Remembrance at the library. I got invited to that. I mean, you just get invited to a lot of things.
What's one thing that surprised you about the position?
Compared to the other positions I've been in, and like, I'm very happy that I had other leadership positions, because being a state representative while you're an advocate for your district, you're not really leading a major staff of any kind. You're not leading an organization. Being the mayor is a little bit more like being the CEO of an organization. And fortunately, I had that experience at WSU Spokane, and I had it at Commerce, the Department of Commerce. Really glad I had that, because it prepared me pretty well. And so in terms of those other positions, which were also public sector organizations with a cabinet and leadership roles. But when you are the mayor of a city, you also have community safety, right? Like a police force, a police department, a fire department, emergency response, any natural disaster that happens in your city's going to want you to be there and have a plan. So that would be a whole element that wasn't something I really had to deal with to the same level at Commerce or at WSU.
Yeah, because you're essentially running one of the largest companies in Spokane. If not, maybe the largest. Right?
It's definitely a large one. Yeah. I don't know how it compares to a couple of our private sector organizations are probably larger, but it's also so multifaceted. Yeah. The mission is not just like create this product or service and sell it. It is really like make sure that the water comes out when people turn the tap, make sure that it goes away, and that it doesn't get in the river. That what you don't want in the river doesn't get in the river, and the 69 square miles, the city's geographically larger than the city of San Francisco. So that's a lot of ground to cover, a lot of streets to plow, that kind of thing. And then all the social issues that people also expect that their city will get engaged with and try to solve.
So true. Yeah, if my brother was on here, he'd ask you what your mission statement was for the city of Spokane. But I think one thing I also think is difficult, you're coming in behind somebody who probably thought or did something different than you did. So how do you marry those two? Because I think an abrupt about face, like some politicians that jump in, would be difficult as well. But how do you jump in and kind of get where you think the city should go, but you're also still picking up and cleaning up and moving a previous, probably different agenda?
There were definitely things that were just served to me that I needed to take on, problems that maybe, or things that got kind of kicked down the road, and somebody's got to finally take them on and deal with them. So there were definitely plenty of those. But with respect to either kind of my own agenda, I put that together with a transition team. So I had a lot of people with different backgrounds and experience, and some even from previous administrations, come together and give advice in different areas and make recommendations. And we have definitely utilized that roadmap in terms of the things that we're trying to accomplish. It's not quick. I think, particularly when I meet with people from the private sector, I think there's a sense, oh, well, you're the CEO. You say that this shall be done, and it shall be done. Yeah. And maybe people feel that a little bit when they think about the way that our president operates. But really, within this system of laws and regulations and collective bargaining units and processes and citizen and community engagement, it just takes a while to get something done, and you have to have the resources to do it. And so when I came in as mayor, I was actually living under the previous mayor's budget for an entire year.
Yeah.
And I mean, that means the personnel and where they are and how much money goes here and there. So it took even the first year to actually put my own budget forward.
Yeah, because I think we had Sheldon on here, and he would say, just do enforcement, right? And then homelessness will be cleaned up. What are things that the general public miss about a statement like that? And because I've talked to you about your plan, and we look at it, and then you'll hear somebody say it, and I'm like, well, have you ever talked to Lisa about that? Because that's not how it looks. But like, what are things the general public misses? I think Jonathan Bingle was our first one, and just him explaining what went into one decision and the 5 previous or the things that led up. But what does the general public miss about that one piece? Because all of a sudden, I live downtown, the streets are cleaner.
Yes.
And then I'm sitting there thinking, like, why wasn't this done like a year ago? But what would somebody miss in that kind of a statement?
Well, what I would tell you about that specifically is that we've been putting pieces together because I think if you talk to most people in Spokane, here's where they are with respect to there's interconnected issues of homelessness, housing affordability, fentanyl crisis, and they're separate but very interconnected. Yeah. And if you talk to most people more specifically about just homeless individuals, and I knocked on over 1,000 doors when I was running for mayor. So, I mean, people really
pretty good feedback. Yeah.
really say this. They say, look, we're Spokane. We want to help people. So we want to start by helping people in need, and we want accountability and enforcement for people who break laws, especially repeatedly. So they want both. It's a both and. It's not an either or.
Yeah.
There may be some either or people out there, but I think most of us are both and. And so we have spent the last 2 years putting together both and. And what that means to us is that we're now getting pretty close to that. And in October, you saw a change, not just with an ordinance that the city council passed, although that is part of it, but also in October, not coincidentally, we opened our daytime navigation center, and we put 4 outreach teams in each of our 4 police precincts, which are geographically downtown, northwest, northeast, and the south side of the city. Those are the 4. And so there is now an outreach team in each of those 4 precincts, and we have built an app that now coordinates law enforcement, code enforcement, outreach teams, and providers of services. And so when either a person calls 311 because they see a homeless camp, or police see one, or code enforcement, or whatever the case may be, that's coordinated behind the scenes. Outreach teams should go first. Ideally, if there's something going on there that requires law enforcement should join them. If not, outreach team can offer services, transport people to the navigation center, and if they refuse, of course, that could then be an enforcement issue. But often they cooperate, and we needed a place for them to go.
Yeah.
And opening up that navigation center, and the shelters were part of the success of what I think you're seeing on the street.
Yeah.
And then code enforcement can go clean after that's done. Before, we had a system that just really didn't work that way. It was very uncoordinated. And so I think the coordination is part of the success of what people are seeing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So the difference before was a cop would come, they'd move for a second, and they'd just move a little further down. This time a cop showed up, but then actually looked like a social worker came in behind. And then one complaint I had was, hey, how do I even sit around here? They're asking me to move all the time.
Yeah.
And like, well, then that person came in. So really, I think it does effectively do that part of it.
What does the outreach team do?
The outreach teams are they have contracts with the city, but they are outreach workers. Some of them are what we call peers. That means they have lived experience themselves with being homeless and or being in recovery. And so they can set up a rapport with the individual that you might not get with a
Police officer
showing up first. And then they say, look, there is a place you can go. We will. And they ask them questions. Do you have what do you need? People, many times, if they're homeless, they are actually victims of crime. They've been robbed. They don't have their IDs. They don't have their phone, et cetera. So getting them to a navigation center, getting them reconnected to those very basic things is a really good first step. And then the navigation center immediately works to try to get them a place to sleep that night that's not on the street.
Yeah. No, yeah, whatever it is, it's definitely working. So, I mean, the hard part about the city, sometimes I wonder if we didn't have that to talk about. Like, a lot of things are running good. Like, I mean, sometimes I look at it and I'm like, obviously you need a topic, you need something that he'll discuss, and obviously it is a big issue. But what are some things you love about what we're doing here as a city?
This city got some very cool things. One, I don't know. When I first moved to Spokane, I felt like it had a little bit of this second city complex, like we weren't Portland or Seattle. But I feel like Spokane is coming into its own with its own identity. And so the idea that we have this amazing river right in the middle of our city and falls, and a park system that is unrivaled,
Amazing, yeah.
really, and just very much endorsed by the public with the Parks and Schools vote, and an ethic around outdoors and outdoor activity and recreation and sports. If you pay any attention, and I have some criticisms of it, but the GSI Pulse survey, if there are things that people agree on there, and one of them is that they love Spokane for its access to outdoor recreation and activities. So I love that part. I love that we have 29 separate neighborhoods, and they all are represented with this council, the neighborhood councils. And they have an identity that's not just I live in Spokane, but I live in Brown's Addition. Yeah. I live in Emerson Garfield. I live in Hilliard. And they have things that they are really focused on related to their neighborhood. And so I think especially as a city like Spokane gets bigger and bigger, new people move in, 1,000 new people or so a year. And some people are very nostalgic for the way it used to be when it was really more of a town. Neighborhoods can be the connector between you're living in a city, but you're also living in a community because you're living in a neighborhood that has its own unique identity that you can be proud of.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely there. I mean, Garland, where Keith did a lot of the stuff between its offices and apartment buildings, like it's a fun little environment there. Then you go to Perry, it's its own environment. And I think any successful city has those.
Yes.
I think that's what's been fun
These
to
little
watch.
Districts and areas, and it's very fun to during the run up to the last election with the schools and parks on the ballot, I went to neighborhood councils and just gave them a little progress report on what we were trying to do around community safety and homelessness, but then also talk to them about the specific projects that would affect their schools, their parks. And that was really fun for me. And they were all different, very unique. And it's interesting when you see that identity of people and they're kind of proud. And I always ask them, like, what's the best coffee shop in your neighborhood? Because I'm a coffee fanatic. So it's always fun just to hear the things that people are proud of in their neighborhood.
I agree. And I think it's the strength of the city as a whole grows when people have pride of ownership in their neighborhoods too.
Yes.
Right. Really taken care of, because it's hard to own a whole city. I'm Spokane proud, but it's hard to, it's like you can't make an impact or move the needle much citywide, but you can't, unless you're the mayor, maybe. But as an individual, right, a lot of times it's Garland or it's Perry or it's Brown's Addition, but those are the shops that you can go into and those are the people you can talk to, and that's where you can actually, deal with a variety of people in your local community and get to know people and kind of, start to move the needle forward, even if it's
or launch your political career.
Yeah,
we just had the leadership.
I don't know why she pointed at it.
Because you're coming. I told you. It's yours.
We just had a leadership academy, which is Gonzaga and the neighborhoods. And, I don't know how many people came, but dozens of people came to learn about skills to be more of a neighborhood advocate and leader. And, of course, I think that's going to strengthen the city ultimately.
Yeah, so taking a step back real quick to your journey, but like what was your very first political role? Or how did you get sucked into politics? I say sucked in, but how did you get, because I feel like some people, I don't know, there's very few fifth graders that, you go interview, they say, well, I want to be the president or something, but not a lot of them are like, well, I want to get into politics, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not something that you hear a lot of people initially say, and even when you interview politicians, they're not like, it wasn't a lifelong dream for me to be a city council person or a mayor or a state legislator. So how did that happen for you, and what did that look like?
And in particular, women are much less likely to grow up thinking I'm going to be a politician. Yeah. So I came to Spokane with an identity as someone who got involved in politics from an activist perspective. So that's how I started.
What did that look like? You talking about like in college and stuff? You were active in like different organizations
So in the University of Illinois, I was active in a kind of a volunteer organization, volunteer alumni projects, but we went out and did various different things to interact with the community. And once you start to do that type of work, sometimes it leads you into more policy. So at the University of Colorado, I got involved in a whole movement around the release of nuclear material at the Rocky Flats.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Nuclear weapons plant. I was actually arrested.
Should have started with this part of the story. I knew it.
Then that was a long time ago. But so I kind of came into politics more as I'm an activist. And when I came to Spokane, because I was teaching at Eastern, I also ended up getting involved in various things. Like I helped start the first Women Take Back the Night March here. So the whole idea about that was when people were starting to talk about domestic violence as not something that you should be quiet about, that but you needed to bring out and talk about and get involved. And the YWCA organized this march, Women March at Night, to sort of claim, that we shouldn't be afraid. We should be able to do that.
Yeah.
So it was activism. And then from that, I think people came to me and said, you should think about running for office.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened. Then an opening occurred right during the week before filing week. There's a week when you have to file for office. The week before filing week, a state senator said they were retiring, and 2 state representatives said they were going to go for the senator's seat. And I said, oh, well, I talked to my friends. We literally sat around my dining room table with my baby, 6 months old, and said, should we run somebody for this seat? And they were like, yeah, it should be you, and we'll all help you. So it was like a group project.
Oh, wow.
That's a good group. I need a better group around me.
It was a good group.
That's a good way.
Talk to me a little bit about the campaigning aspect of things.
Campaigns, wow. When I first ran, it was a group, and it was very grassroots. You didn't get a lot of money from anybody. In fact, I didn't get the endorsement of the Democratic Party locally.
Oh, wow.
And so
still won it.
I was kind of a newcomer, maybe a little bit like Sarah Dixit's campaign for council. I think she kind of came out from activists. I think a lot of people thought that's a long shot, and I thought it was a long shot.
Yeah.
And yet she just generated all this enthusiasm. I think I saw that it was maybe going to change when I saw that Alan Stone was doing a benefit for her. And I thought, oh, she's kind of in touch with a whole group, because my son's in the music scene too. So I'm like, okay, she's sort of in touch with a kind of a scene that might generate more votes than people are expecting. And that's kind of what it was like for me too. Like I said, I didn't have the endorsement of the party. I think we raised a total of $25,000, and that was to print flyers.
Yeah.
And to go door to door, and we wrote postcards, and we would write. We pulled our own lists. I had a couple friends that kind of knew how to do the voter stuff and target precincts, and we pulled lists, and we told people. We sent postcards. We hand addressed and hand stamped postcards to people with my picture on it, saying, "Hey, Lisa Brown's going to come and ask you what you think and what you want her to do as a state legislator." So we won. And then to the other extreme of that is when I ran for Congress in 2018 and lost. And that was 10 counties of Eastern Washington, huge geographic area to cover, and we both raised literally millions of dollars. So a very different thing. And modern campaigns now rely so much on media and how people get their information that they're very different from when I first started.
Yeah. And are you trying to, I think at that large capacity as well, are you trying to just get name recognition, like brand recognition, like I'm some guy sitting in some town somewhere and I got to vote for this and I don't really know who these people are, but I recognize that name or I have some familiarity? Or are you actually trying to get at touch with them with specific issues that you think might be important to them? I don't know their names, but I know the issues that they're behind.
It's kind of both. And every campaign, every political race is unique in that it's about the candidates. It's usually about the party, although in nonpartisan elections, you don't have the D or the R behind your name. So that's a little different.
What would be an example of that?
At local when I ran for mayor.
Okay. Mayor doesn't have them.
Or city council, you don't run, you may have a party affiliation. You could get endorsed by a party, but it's not on the ballot.
It's not labeled like you would know.
I got
which
you.
one.
I thought they all ran. Okay, I got you.
No, it's not on the ballot, local races. The other thing, though, that's different is that you're running for a local election, but national politics is affecting how people think about things. The year that I ran for the state legislature ended up being called the Year of the Woman. That was the year Patty Murray ran for the U.S. Senate. And there were a bunch of issues that happened, and people were like, why aren't there more women in politics? And so it was kind of like I was knocking on doors that year, and people would say, I'm voting for women this year. And so I probably benefited just from that.
Yeah. Right. Serendipitously from that.
Yes.
Were you a natural at it? Because you're pretty outgoing.
I think,
or do you have to work up and learn? And door knocking, so as realtors, you door knock.
Yes.
And you go up randomly to people's houses, and you have to get really used to it. I would say I wasn't a natural at it.
I did not want to do it. Yeah. However, I got used to it. Yeah. And what I'm a natural at probably is getting in front of a room of people and standing up and talking and answering questions and just building rapport. Yeah. Because from teaching on all those years, teaching Econ 101 at Eastern, trying to make people interested in economics and supply and demand, and in front of 50 people. So it was, compared to other people, I think it's easier for me to stand up in front of a microphone or camera or a group of people and talk. But I actually, the one-on-one knocking on people's doors is scary when you first start. And my husband never got used to it. He really is not an extrovert, and he was very, very helpful in my congressional campaign, driving me around all the time. But usually he would stand, out in the street while I was actually knocking on the door. He would be nearby, but wasn't into that part of it.
Yeah.
It's always the first 30 seconds, I feel like. If I can get past the first 30 seconds, then usually we're going to be okay.
But usually it's pretty quick. Yeah. You like most people I have very few negative experiences and some very funny ones. And most people, right away, they're either into it or they're not into it. Yeah. If they're not into it, you say, have a nice day, hand them your flyer. And if they're into it, you have a nice little conversation.
Yeah. So what's kind of your vision for Spokane in that way? Kind of shifting back to that, because if you were to say in the next 5 years you expected Spokane to be in a certain spot, where would that be?
I would love for the next 5 years for us to kind of get beyond and be at the point where people generally agree that we turned the corner on downtown. Because I think the pandemic and the issues that arose and the crisis, which is truly a crisis around fentanyl and housing affordability and housing supply, to be able to say we turned the corner there and we're on the right track. I would love for that to be the narrative that people talk about. But also, I see tremendous opportunity around. We have these sectors, like the health science sector and education and research, and even pharmaceutical manufacturing with Jubilant Hollister Steer. We have this other sector around aerospace, and then we have this other sector around clean energy. And that's a little bit unusual for a city. Like, a lot of times a city is known for one thing. Yeah. We are not. And you might think of it as a disadvantage. It might be a little bit of a disadvantage, but it could also be a strength in that we have a diversified portfolio. So I believe we will start to get known more for those sectors being successful. And then the other thing I would really like to see is, and this is just a fun thing I care about a lot, and that is the creative economy, arts, music. I'd love to see the Terrain Project succeed. It's very ambitious transformation of a building that they're trying to do there, but I'd love to see that funded and happening. And I love your project of turning an office building into a cool place to live. So I'd like us to just be known for doing that kind of thing and doing it well.
Well, it seems like once we get to that corner turn that you're alluding to, I think then some of the divisiveness and the bickering and fighting about what to do turns into more like let's get stuff done. I feel like when you have that continual kind of battle back and forth about the right direction, then like nobody's really going anywhere
Yeah.
in any direction, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's the wrong direction or the right direction, sometimes you find out faster, even if it's the wrong one. It's like, well, let's go, and then it's like, okay, this was the wrong direction, let's turn. But I feel like right now the political landscape is a lot of back and forth and not a lot of movement. Like that's just my personal feel, like looking even like nationally and locally, it's like you just have a lot of this kind of like differences of opinion on what directions to go. And so it's like, we're not really making any forward progress in any one direction.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I would like to just start seeing progress in certain directions, regardless of who wins the decision of which direction to go. And maybe initially it's like, let's go make some progress. Let's like get some things happening here. And then if it's the right direction, keep forward. If it's not, then we can make, pivot or turn. I think it's frustrating for the people, and it's frustrating to watch kind of a lot of just squawking and bickering and arguing. And like, it's like, well, what are we doing here? Right. Like that's when I get a little like maybe like disengaged, because I'm like, I don't feel like this is going anywhere. Right. Like with politics for me, I'm like, that's where my impact feels like it stops.
Yeah, I know. I get that. We do have a lot of strength in organizations, nonprofits that just say, "Hey, I'm going to try to help and make this little corner better." And so that's another way for people to feel a little less cynical, is to get connected to one of those organizations and see what they're doing and kind of see them making a concrete difference.
Sure.
Well, I think every difference matters. I think one of the coolest investments so far has done has been the soccer team. Like, and you don't think of it like an investment a ton, but then you show up and there's 5,000 fans there, and now I'm road tripping with my family to go watch a game in Knoxville, which is way further than you think. Don't do that.
Yes,
it's way
hard
further
to get
than you
to.
think.
I thought about
I
it.
could have told you that.
Trust me, I miscalculated by 6 hours somewhere in there. I went to plug in from Rushmore, and I'm like, sweet, we're going to Louisville to Churchill Downs. I'm like, all right, that should be about 10, and I hit it, and it was 18 hours, and I was like, I'm going to be driving. I was like, is there an airport here? Nope. There's nothing. And so, but it was fun showing up. And you always, I think you said something a while back about how Spokane always felt like that second city or that. And I think a lot of times you feel that way. And then you go show up at Knoxville's and I'm like, our stadium's nicer.
Totally.
Our fans are better.
Totally.
Our
saw
culture's
that.
better.
Yes.
Our things are better. And I think sometimes we forget that because we've been looking at Spokane in this box of picking it apart, instead of like stepping back sometimes and going and looking like we have like a top-notch, that entertainment area with the arena, podium, stadium. There aren't many cities that have it. The park, there aren't many cities that have it. A downtown like ours, there aren't many cities that have it. And I think we've spent so much time under a microscope. And that was probably one of the best things about the road trip was you go out and you're like, wait a second, Omaha wasn't fantastic. Well, anybody could have said that, I guess, but Kansas City wasn't great. And all of a sudden you get like, wait, we have all those pieces.
Yeah, really great.
And so I think I came back the most
that.
revitalized. I wish we would have won. That would have been helpful. But coming back, I'm like, wait, we have all those. Yeah. We're just talking about putting them in motion. And to Keith's point, I think what I loved about it, whether it was a major change or nothing, is all of a sudden you saw action. Mm-hmm. You saw that piece on the street. And I think I was excited. It's that forward momentum that you keep seeing. And it's like, all right, well, next year we're going to get it. And I think that was because you go into with this idea of like, oh, we're going to Knoxville, 1 million people, very similar size kind of economy piece. And I'm like, stadium's nice, but like,
wasn't it like
it's on a baseball
former
field.
baseball field or something? Yeah, that's what it looked like. I mean, I was watching from the Flat Stick Pub, but
that was great.
That was and to have that stadium downtown, and that we have professional soccer, men's and women's, and high school teams get to play there, and they can turn it into a concert venue. Which was also very cool. So that's
I think that sometimes I hope with our podcast, address what we still think is wrong, but like let's highlight some of the really cool things that actually are there that we're building on. And
you know about next year, right? I mean, we are a fan zone,
it's gonna be awesome.
Designated fan zone, and we're in the running to be a base camp.
What is that? What does all that mean?
So the base camp part is we're in the brochure for the World Cup.
2026 in America.
And so when teams qualify for the World Cup, they're going to get this brochure about the place they can have their team base camp. Mm-hmm. So they practice, bring their fans there, and fly from there to their matches. And we, with Gonzaga in the lead as the field, are in the brochure to be a base camp. So it'd be so cool if we had a World Cup team come to Spokane the month before they play and practice and here. That would be great.
That'd be super sweet.
Oh, it'll be awesome.
And we have a fan zone designation, so we will be watching those World Cup games with some special activities and places
Yeah,
and on the big screen.
Yeah, they have games at Lumen, so Sounder Stadium.
Is where some of the official games will be played, or
Yes.
I don't know
Yep,
what difference.
so we have tickets to the first round. So yeah, I think it's like 8 or 10 games or something like that are
it's-
played there.
It's going to be a unique World Cup this time because
Yeah.
it's not one country; it's
Correct.
the Americas. So Canada, U.S., and Mexico, there will be matches.
Nice. And where is the like final game played? Or
Oh, that's a really good question.
I
My
don't-
guess is one of the big ones, Los
don't know.
Angeles or Mexico
Probably
City or
LA
something.
or
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
I'll have to look that
I don't
up.
know.
I'll have to look that up. But it's just those pieces. And the other one we talked to Emily, and you forget, like she said, 10 million visitors to Spokane. Like there's just these things where we just take it for granted. And like I said, the best way to look at a city is like, again, going through Kansas City. It's a really good enterprise. If anybody wants to go on a drive, is that you look and it's like things to do. And then one of them was like their park and then a museum. And you actually look at Spokane, things to do, and there's a lot of activities, a lot of things. And I think we discount, because we've been here so long, how cool it is for people that come through and go to the park, go to the things we have. And
I keep telling you, you need a diary like your tour of downtown. You need to have like Jordan's
I'm
tour
telling
of
you.
downtown because you're probably one of the most versed people that I know. Like,
I know
like Jordan knows all the spots.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I tease these guys all the time because we have development and they always are naming buildings. They're
Yeah.
like, well, you know, this building, and I'm like, no, which building's that? I don't know all the names of the buildings. I've been doing this 20 years. I don't know all the names of all the buildings, but
I told DSP just GoPro me for one day. I was like, it's the
Yeah,
best. I go on a walk
totally.
in the morning. I grab
where
coffee
you
at a
get
place.
coffee, and
We go
we walk
get
through the
lunch.
park,
We
and
talk
we
to
have
business
lunch.
owners.
Yeah.
Like
Here.
in my day, it's pretty
Yeah.
eclectically versed downtown. And I think it's there's just two ways to always look at a problem.
Yes.
One is to complain about, and another is to do something. And I think that's what has been fun to see now. Is I think people are moving forward in that common direction.
I think so.
So if you could snap your fingers right now, what's one thing you would add to the city? And besides the budget.
Yeah.
more money.
It really, so it's such a circular
Yeah.
circular thing, but it really is more housing downtown because downtown becoming a neighborhood, and believe me, all the neighborhoods matter, and we made that clear in our community safety proposal last year that it wasn't going to just be about downtown. Neighborhood resource officers going to all those neighborhood council meetings, very cool. But more housing downtown, and just because I think that then supports more retail, and that provides a foundation for all the cool activities, cultural, and Best of Broadway, all those other activities and the visitors that come in. But I think we, it's a bit of a tricky topic, but I think we do have too many surface parking lots and too much kind of between some of the cool places. Filling that in with more housing or more. One of the things I've learned is people are into more small scale retail. They really like the small, unique local things, and we need some more of that too.
Yeah. You don't have to answer this, but is that some of the reason behind the proposed parking tax?
Oh, it absolutely is.
Is to drive buildings or put something on it? Or was it, because obviously it's not well received,
Yes.
right? Because
Correct.
it's going to affect retailers and chances are Diamond will just increase their rates. But is that kind of the push?
Yeah, a couple things about that. It's definitely about the incentives and disincentives for transforming some of those parking lots back into buildings and housing like they used to be.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't always that way. So that's a piece of it. It's also about a source of revenue for transportation, and we need it because we do have all those thousands of miles of streets, and we do have lots of transportation infrastructure that we need to invest in and keep that going. And I will say many cities in Washington State already have this, so it's new to us, but it's not new to Olympia, Seattle, other cities. The effect on the average person, I think, will not be what some people are saying it's going to be. It doesn't affect street parking, and there are exemptions built in for employee residential parking. So
Just to give me a better lay of the land, what's the proposal? What is it?
the proposal is a commercial parking tax. So it's on the commercial parking businesses.
Okay.
It's a 12% rate for surface parking lots. It's a
12% of what? 12% of the value
of the
Parking
revenue
rate.
right?
of the revenue
that they generate. Okay.
the revenue they generate. You can apply for a rebate or credit, so it's ultimately 6% for structured parking lots.
Okay.
It doesn't apply to on-street parking, which is maintained by the city. And like I said, you can apply for exemptions if you have an employee program, a residential program, or a student program.
Okay.
So the idea is to try to minimize the impact on people that are, working
That are coming down
downtown.
here often
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
live down here.
Yeah. And it's clear that if an entity, well, here's what it seems like to me. I'll put my economist hat on.
Nice.
If a business is already doing dynamic pricing, which means they're already sort of price discriminating to maximize their revenue, they will probably have to absorb it versus pass it on. If they're not, they may be passing it on in higher rates. So that is going to shake out a little bit over the next period
Is there a
of time.
concern that Diamond's probably 90% of that? And they'll just adjust their rate across each of them?
Well, I would imagine that they might be doing dynamic pricing already.
But then what stops them from just bumping the pricing
Well,
across the board?
Because they will, if they're doing dynamic pricing already, then they might get to the point where they see their revenue decline if they increase the price more.
Yeah.
So if they're already charging you the maximum, say $40 or $50 for a Broadway,
Yep.
then they would find it hard to just bump it, because then
But isn't their maximum only controlled by whatever the neighbor is charging, right? So my fear of it is that it discourages people from coming downtown in an environment where they
I see that.
already potentially weren't going to come down, and all of a sudden to eat isn't just park in there. It's $12, $15 to park because there happens to be Lion King going on.
Yeah, I get that. And
Yeah.
when I think people in Spokane also are pretty creative about figuring out how not to do that.
Yeah.
Again, the street parking isn't affected, and there is very high vacancy rates right now in our current system. Like even on those nights when it can be challenging in specific locations, if you go a little bit farther, there's something available.
On the economic side, because it's the side you would assess more, because I feel like how does a B&O tax or sales tax generated by the business of downtown compared to what we generate in parking revenue?
Well, so you mean like a local B&O?
Yeah, like
Well,
whatever we capture from a business sales tax.
So the argument that I
so-
guess I would make as a developer is like the vacancy is probably more problematic than
That's what I mean.
like if the vacancy
Like versus
wasn't
we do
30%,
free parking,
you
increase sales at everything downtown.
Well,
Right.
I guess I would say there's nothing stopping any of the entities
Yeah,
now from lowering their
Yeah,
parking.
yeah.
If that is the big issue that people really see, then I would think that the downtown interests would start talking about why are these lots charging so
Yeah, but you can't stop them, right?
damn much.
That's my fear. Like when the other safety was every other place I got
I don't
gas
have enough
was
information to like speak intelligently, I think, to that specific issue. But I guess questioning is like, what are the current rates? Like,
Well,
on
so
average,
they vary.
'cause
They vary dramatically,
Right.
and they are much lower than many other cities. But I will say this: like I've been walking around, paying attention to this for a while now. So on a Saturday night at River Park Square, you can park for $4. So this would add a quarter
yeah.
to that.
Yeah,
So
it's not significant. Just
Yeah, so that's kind of my first reaction is like, well, what are the current rates and how, what is it $15 and $20 or is it more like
event
$5? I
based.
mean,
That's more event based.
they are
Yeah,
all
correct.
they're
So
all
I'm-
over the map.
Yeah.
okay.
They're all over the map, and it really depends. And I think another piece of this is that you ask about other revenue options. We are prohibited from having a B&O tax in Spokane. There are B&O taxes all throughout the west side. We don't have a B&O tax on business in Spokane, and it's prohibited. There was a vote of the people to prohibit it. So we don't have that.
When
We
you
don't
say-
collect any of that because I
don't
pay it.
collect
I have
that.
4 degrees. I pay it.
You pay a state B&O tax.
Yeah.
Right.
So we just don't have a local.
We don't have a
So it
local
all
one.
goes to the state, and there's a lot of cities.
But
that
a
it's-
lot of cities have a local on top of that, Tacoma,
Oh,
Seattle,
okay.
but we do not
Yeah.
in Spokane.
because that's the one I was looking at, because it's a perception thing, right? Homelessness is tough because it's not even a huge issue. I walk with my daughter all over downtown. But you think it, right? And all of a sudden now you're just going to think parking's too much. So it's easier to go to 57th, go to pools. And my fear is that it almost is like you have to open the doors again to people and give them that reason to come down. Because it's not hard to find parking. To your point, it's not hard to find parking.
Nothing stopping people from doing specials and creating opportunities. And I need to add another piece.
Go.
So I think long before, many people may not remember this, but some will. So the city got involved in the River Park Square parking garage. We are still paying for it. We pay $1.75 million for 3 more years on bonds. Jeez. The city doesn't get any revenue from that parking garage. The decision was made to support downtown by having the city get engaged and do that. And I don't second guess that decision, but it was refinanced and the can was kicked down the road. And so guess what? I have a $1.75 million bill for the next 3 years. And this...
Well, and it's been for years and years and years, right?
It has been.
I mean, it's not. We're not talking like 3 years. It's been.
No. It's been.
I remember that. That was a big deal.
It's a litigation.
It's been for decades.
Yeah.
But we this commercial parking is supposed to bring in maybe about $2 million.
Yeah.
When it's up, it's citywide. When it's up to fully ramped in, and when the 1.75 rolls off, that's even more revenue that we can invest in great things for the city.
So is it a short-term tax, long-term tax? It's just there, like it's 12% on the revenue that's brought in off those, and is that like
or 6, or depending on
your
sure, but is that indefinite?
It's up to the city council.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether it remains or adjusts or changes. Yeah.
They rarely, I feel like, go down. So I'm like,
Rarely.
Once they start, it's gateway.
Yes.
I call them gateway. Yeah. I just have always been trying to think of, because I have experience, but I'm down here, so it's easy to walk. But like, how do you encourage more and more people to come down here? Because at first it felt it was safety. I think safety is going to be addressed. I like the direction we're headed there, but then it's going to be convenience and those things where it's like
people come to cities. Like, it's never stopped anybody from coming to Hoop Fest before, Best of Broadway. It's activities, it's places to go. It's like if you want to see the new businesses that open, you want to eat at Gangnam Style, you want to go to Indigenous Chic because you want to see native clothes, I mean, that you can buy. I just feel like it's really activation and activities that pull people in. And there's an STA park and ride for employees. You can take shuttle, and we can create more of those, and I would be all about that. I think if you said one thing I could do if I was like in charge, I would love to have a free circulator around the park that connected to a couple of very inexpensive parking lots. Because like when I lived in Olympia, they have a free circulator bus that goes from the state capitol down to the waterfront. And it was just so easy. Just hop on it, stop, get lunch, hop on it again, go back to your office. I think we could be doing more there.
Oh, yeah, one through the park. Yeah, and I was at Central Park, and they had that kind of where you could literally hop on by O'Doherty's and go to the cheaper lots on the North Bank.
Yeah, exactly. We could be doing that now, especially now that we have so much going on the North Bank and the South Side of the river, that it would be cool to have that. And I can speak now. I am a grandparent. I have a 5-year-old grandson, and getting through our park is so awesome, and it's so huge. Like now he's on a scooter, so I just have to keep up with him. But when he was 3 or 2, that's challenging for parents actually. So I think we need a circulator moving people from the north to the south side and past restaurants and hotels and things like that.
And you could do a cool trolley or something too, which would be fun, cool. Like a old school trolley that got you to and from.
Yeah, that
would be have those room for a park.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, that's they were for like kids though.
Yeah,
it's like a little
it's like a little train.
Yeah.
maybe a little
much.
You could do a grown-up one and maybe make it a little cooler.
That's funny.
They have one you can pedal around and drink on. That's a different one. Too,
I've done that one. That's a sweet one. Yeah,
it's fun for like the first 10 minutes.
And then you realize you're actually doing the work.
Like, this is not that fun of an idea.
You all of a sudden realize how many hills are in downtown Spokane.
Yeah, even slight ones, right? Slight gradual ones.
Yeah.
How much do you think that this is like just overall an economic issue as well, like for the country? I mean, I feel like we're in an economic, I'm not going to say recession, but lull, whatever. And I think so when you start looking at vacancy downtown with businesses and you start looking at money, I mean, some of it's like a high tide floats all boats, right? Like
Absolutely.
The hard part right now
absolutely. The big picture of the national economy, interest rates, the inflation in construction,
right,
and the uncertainty is those wins are part of what we are addressing. We are still post-pandemic in terms of the change in work. I think that it's cool to have co-working and other things because I don't think people are ever going to go back to huge office buildings type work environments. I think they want different things, especially younger workers. So part of it is that. And I also think just like in economics, there's like, you can actually get more of a downturn just based on expectations. Yeah. And you can get more of an upturn, how irrational expectations, you can get bubbles based on expectations. Similarly, for this city, if we have the inflection point and we start talking about things differently, it will drive behavior that will be positive for us.
I agree. I think that's one of the things me and Jordan wrestle with a lot on this podcast is diving into issues and then spending a lot of times talking about them because they're important. And then in the last 5 minutes being like, but it's really cool downtown. It's pretty nice. You should come, right? And it's you don't want to paint it. So you're trying to address issues, but I think all in all, like a lot of the guests that we've had and a lot of the people that come on the show and talk about Spokane they all say very similar things. I mean, everybody mentions the park, right? Like whether it's Bobby Bread or whether it's like they talk about, I got up for playing, I came to Spokane, I saw that park, and I was like, that's amazing, right? Yeah. Like, so everybody loves the park, everybody loves downtown. Like we have a diverse scene of like restaurants and things to do. I think there are problems, but I think more than anything, it's like I said, it's that messaging of for the people who, for the most part, don't come downtown regularly. What is their perception of what downtown's current state is when the television they watch or the newspaper they're reading is constant battling about like there's a parking tax. See this, sweetheart? There's a parking tax, and it's they haven't been down in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you talk about these issues and then not, and yet still invite people down for them to experience it, right? So the streets are cleaner, and there is a lot to do, and so I think for us, I think that's what we're always trying to encourage people. Just to like, my advice would be like, come experience it. Right?
Yeah.
Take Jordan's tour.
I'm gonna have my own. Pretty soon on Saturday night, you'll be able to do the Jordan tour, and I'll take you around,
starting
drop you at different
brewery,
spots.
Well, let me
just not that funny.
I think we're almost out, so let me just say, for the holidays, people should not miss coming downtown because there's going to be so many cool things. Yeah. The ice ribbon is opening this weekend. We're putting together our own little city focus thing to sort of coordinate with downtown Spokane partnerships. Holiday focus. We're calling it Home for the Holidays, but there's going to be more law enforcement on bike and foot patrols with candy canes and lots of activities happening. And so people definitely should not miss it. There's just going to be fun things. The Christmas tree lighting, fireworks on New Year's Eve, and lots of, again, something I love, all the cool music venues, independent, fun music you can go hear. I love it that some of them are now starting to do it a little earlier around the happy hour so you can hear live music and you don't have to stay up all night long. So really good things happening that people should come experience. I 100%
guarantee I love bringing my kids downtown during Christmas and just watching their eyeballs, dude, because it's all the amazing lights and all the things, and they love it. So, well, we know that you were super busy. We thank you so much for your time. Thank you for giving us an hour, and we're going to let you out of here and, try not to screw this up.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right, you guys, thanks for listening to today's episode. While you're out there, would you please do us a favor and give us a like, subscribe, or a follow, whether you listen on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube. We'd really appreciate it. Also, if you don't mind while you're there, give us a 5-star review. Maybe write a review. If you have a favorite episode, feel free to give it a like. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.